Hello, YouTube land. Welcome to Stonecabinadventures with Kevin and Lorelei, and welcome to another adventure with Pinky. So this is the Life and Times of Pinky Calhoun, episode 14, chapter 10. My knee again. That cold and snow held on so long that most of January had come and gone before Elmer and I could go back to school. Less than half of our cows survived. We had plenty of beef to eat until they all thawed out and stinked. Until then, we ate like kings. I went to bed stuffed full every night. Pa always caught dozens and dozens of coyotes and bobcats and hungry stuff in the winter on his trap line. Ma tanned the prettiest hides and left the fur on them. Pa sells the rest of them. Last winter, she made me a pair of pants with the fur on the inside. I wear them under my dresses to stay warm. To keep us busy in the house, she had Elmer and me each make ourselves a new hat. I made mine with the fur on the inside like my pants. I made mine out of rabbit fur. And I turned up one little pretty edge of white belly fur for a trim. Elmer made his out of coonskin. He made a matching one for Pa. It kept us busy for most of one snowy day. We made mittens, too. I wanted gloves because having a special place for each finger is an important thing for the mayor. I thought about it a long while. Finally, I decided this winter I would rather have warm fingers. Plus, mittens is easier to make. I made one mitten for Pa out of coonskin. Elmer made the other one. Ma made her own hat and mittens out of possum fur. I'd had a run-in with a possum once in the chicken coop. I whacked it with a stick and it left, but it had already killed one of our best broody hens and our old rooster. I was glad it hadn't killed Doodle-Doo. Mean as that possum was, he sure had a soft pelt. When we got back to school, Miss Schwartz had got herself married to Mr. Harkin. I was so surprised I like to have burst. Emily told me the school board told Miss Schwartz that married women cannot be teachers, only single ones. Emmy's pa is the president of the school board. Miss Schwartz pulled out her copy of the rules they had given her, and that rule wasn't on it. So she kept her job. Of course, I didn't notice a whole bunch of other people lining up to take over for her either. Rufus didn't come back to school, and I didn't know if maybe Mr. Harkin had had a man-to-man chat with him, or if Rufus had just had enough of chatting with Mrs. Harkin's broomstick. Mr. Harkin bought a buggy for Mrs. Harkin to drive. It's pretty. He fixed it all up special for her. He nailed some boards to the sides and to the top to protect her from the cold when she's driving to and from school. He's even taken time out of digging in his mine to add a couple of rooms to their house so they can have kids. I wouldn't even know that, but I heard her chatting with Ma one day when I wasn't supposed to be listening. Mrs. Harkin stops by our house, and I ride to school in her buggy some days. Elmer usually tosses his books in the buggy and trots alongside of us. With the freezing cold and the muddy melting snow and Mrs. Harkin taking me on buggy rides, I nearly forgot about my new hook and catching the big catfish. On Valentine's Day, Elmer asked me, "Are you sure you want to ride home in the buggy again? I thought you would want to stop by the river." Elmer held out his hands, and I jumped out of the buggy into his arms. He put me down quick like. My foot had no more than touched the ground before I knew I was in trouble. My boots skidded in the mud, my knee popped, and the world went black. I woke up hanging onto the buggy wheel. I said one of the words that Pa never says in the house. And I said it again and again. Tears ran down my face. My hands froze to that muddy cold wheel. My knee would not bend. I had a vague memory of hearing somebody scream. By the way my throat hurt, it might have been me. Mrs. Harkin and Elmer pried my fingers loose off the buggy wheel, and Emily, God bless her little chicken heart, she led the horses with the buggy to the nearest hitching post. She hadn't stepped in front of a horse on purpose since the day her cousin pitched her off the roof. Well, pitched her off the balcony. It was high as a roof. And then, the day I needed her, she did. Emily had been brave for me. I had to find and kill that big fish for her. Even if I had to let it swallow me and cut my way out, I had to kill it for her. I couldn't help but wonder how big a bubble it had, and how to kill it from the inside without messing up the bubble. Elmer carried me into Doc's office. His hard old table hadn't gotten any softer or more comfortable. Elmer covered me with the blanket he found, but I still got goosebumps from laying there. I looked around for Rufus. It was his fault I was here. He tore up my knee and it never healed right. I wondered if mayors could serve with only one good leg. I told myself I cried because I was afraid that Adam would not want a wife with a bad leg. I knew that wasn't entirely true. I cried mostly because it hurt. I was scared it would always hurt. Emmy came and sat with me and helped me cry. It made me feel a little better. I hoped that swimming would help both of our legs get stronger. Doc didn't come back to give me any of that nasty wild dream medicine. I thought he would. Elmer left to go find him. Eventually, Mrs. Harkin left too. Emmy stayed with me. Abigail showed up, and Adam even popped in for a few minutes. Adam kissed my cheek before he left, but I hurt too much to enjoy it. He mentioned helping Elmer get the doctor back home. That's when I figured out Doc had found somebody's moonshine. Doc can't stop with one cup. He has to finish the whole bottle. If Elmer and Adam helped him finish it, they might not make it back till next week. I wondered if moonshine would help my knees stop hurting. I hadn't realized I wondered it out loud. Emily snorted. Moonshine? You want to drink some? My mama puts it on cuts and scratches. I never want to drink some. I just want to know if it would help my knee stop hurting. Well, I can tell you for sure it doesn't help if you dribble it on stuff. You get a little bit of that on a tiny little cut and it set on fire. Well, I don't want it on my knee. When Ma stitched my hands and knees back together, she or poor Pa one poured some of his drinking whiskey on my stitches. I thought I would die before it quit burning. No, sir, I don't want that stuff where I hurt. Well, what are you going to do with it? She wiped her nose on the tail of her skirt on the inside so no one could see. I whispered, I would drink it. What else? I looked around to make sure nobody else heard me. Why do you want to drink it? Emily's face wrinkled up like she had smelt her pa's awful breath. It stinks worse than a dead rat. Why would anyone want to drink it? Why do men in this saloon drink it? They don't have to drink it to prove they're men. Everyone that knows them knows whether or not they stand up to their responsibilities. They don't prove anything by being able to drink more than somebody else. I know why men drink whiskey. What does it do? It makes them quit hurting. Emmy grinned kind of sideways. Adam says it gives you a horrible headache the next day. My eyes popped wide open. Adam really drinks whiskey? Her matter-of-fact reply surprised me. Well, don't sound so holy. So does Elmer. He does? When? When he and Adam go fishing and don't catch any fish. Some nights they work harder at drinking than they do at fishing. I smiled. I have a plan. Can they find me some? Oh, they're ahead of you. They're trying to find out where Doc keeps his stash. He can't keep it. If he has it, he drinks it. They won't sell it to him at the saloon. He pays them not to. She sat back in her chair and frowned. Well, that's what's taking so long then. They may have to go to the saloon to get some. I hope they hurry. Emmy's eyes squeeze shut like when she tells on herself and knows she'll get a thrashing. I did a bad thing. I sat up suddenly. Pain froze my throat for a minute. I finally managed to squawk out. What could you have done that was bad? You don't have a bad bone in your whole body. I brought the bottle that Pa hides in the store. She pulled it from her pocket and handed it to me. I took it slowly, not knowing whether to be terrified or thankful. How much do I need to stop the pain? She rolled her eyes at me. All of it? All? I was horrified. I'd only needed one drop of the bad dream medicine. It's not full. It only has a little bit left. Papa sips down half a big bottle some nights and still walks around and talks and acts just like normal. I hope this works. She looked like we'd get caught and sent straight to the bad place any second. You better drink it quick before somebody gets here. I wiggled to sit up and thought my leg was being ripped apart at the knee. Tears leaked out of both of my eyes. That counts as crying, whether I meant to cry or not. I tipped the bottle up and took a sip. I tasted Mr. Kruger's horrible breath. That choked me. It was disgusting, but I managed to swallow it. It didn't hurt as bad as getting it poured on my hands and knees, but it burned all the way to my tummy. How it made me shiver while it burned, I can't figure out. I drank in fits and starts because every swallow burned and made my eyes water. I coughed and choked, but finally got it all down. A few minutes later, my nose started feeling warm. A satisfied happiness wrapped itself around me like a warm blanket. You should drink some of this. It makes everything better. I smiled at Emmy. She studied my face a moment before answering. You sound funny, and you drank all of it. I had noticed that myself. I smiled at Emmy, and I woke up at home. Adam was right. My head hurt like crazy the next morning. Okay, so thank you for listening. Like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and share this on your favorite other cyber media, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, whatever it is that you like to share on. That's where we want you to share it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of our YouTube family. There is a YouTube meetup. If you can make it, you should. In Pryor, if you're looking it up on like Google Maps, or if you ask Safari how to get there, you're going to have to probably use the name Pryor Creek, because even though the name of the town is Pryor Creek, people from Oklahoma don't call it Pryor Creek. They just call it Pryor. the exciting Southeast Baptist Church. I think it starts at 9 o'clock Saturday morning. If you get a chance to go, you should. If you want to meet some of your favorite YouTube personalities, I think all the Crockers are going to be there. Jason and Jared and Matt and Mom and Dad. Um, Sawyer Ridge, Alex and Jacob are supposed to be there. Simple Life Reclaimed and Country Road Cure are supposed to be there. Moorhead Bobblehead, what's his name? Bobblehead Homestead. He's supposed to be there, or I think he's supposed to be there. Let me rephrase. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if he's 100% sure. We're going to try to make it at least for a little while. Robertson Belly Acres is supposed to be there. A bunch of people. Anyway, we hope you're there. So Jesus loves you, and so do we. Mwah. Have a good weekend. Feels like a huge